The final challenge, the world of scrolls, no way back. Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original content based on novel. So let's start. Many characters started to emerge from the transparent, icy mountainside, and with a single glance, Luo Feng could read the new techniques instantly. It was the whole chapter of the second volume. He had already completed reading the whole volume. Luo Feng was relieved. After only a while. Again. Luo Feng turned around and looked at another ice mountain in the distance. He could see characters appearing wildly on the transparent, icy mountainside. It was the third volume of Godly Eye Technique. The characters kept emerging, seemingly without end. The Black Mist leader looked at the screen in the palace. Is this already the third volume of Godly Eye Technique? So fast. Wow. The first 3 volumes are all there already. Milky Way has already learned the first 3 volumes, which means that compared to all the previous soldiers who attempted this task, he is the best candidate. There are 9 volumes in total. Let's see which volume he'll end with. Did His Majesty the Godly King put all the 9 volumes there? The towering leader asked, perplexed. The other leaders shook their heads. Who knows? The best soldier previously only finished the first 3 volumes. Who knows how many volumes His Majesty the Godly King put in there? Even though the 4 of them were leaders, and all 4 were sealed great beings, even they weren't qualified to get all the 9 volumes of Godly Eye Technique. After all, to a powerful group, the more advanced a technique was, the more important it was to the group. They were offered on a merit-based system, which meant that those who made more contributions would obtain more techniques. The 4th volume. His started the 4th volume. The willpower shock is incredible right now, yet that soldier Milky Way doesn't seem to be affected much. Perhaps he can comprehend more. The 4 leaders were all curious about how much Milky Way could learn. Luo Feng was relieved. Finally, he had finished the first 4 volumes. Each volume had lots of material, and it had taken a while for it to be completely revealed on the ice mountain. He had been afraid that he might not be able to resist it. The 5th volume. Luo Feng looked toward another ice mountain, and many characters emerged on it. It was the 5th volume of Godly Eye Technique. Luo Feng grew irritated after just 1/3 of the 5th volume had emerged. No. He took a look at the Godly Eye in the sky. The blurry, golden light was covering him, and the willpower shock was becoming stronger. Such a strong willpower shock. Luo Feng said, feeling anxious. I can already feel the great intense pressure. It must be at the level of a senior, true god of void space now. Luo Feng kept staring at the icy mountain in the distance. The characters continued to arise. He was reluctant to have his willpower crumble before finishing that volume. Pressure. Vigorous pressure weighed on his willpower. It felt like a mountain, and it was becoming heavier, slowing down Luo Feng's thinking. The 5th volume. Quick. Quick. Luo Feng was nervous. Another 15 seconds passed. The contents of the 5th volume were shown in their entirety on the ice mountain, and a new volume started to emerge on yet another ice mountain. The 6th volume, said Luo Feng. He could sense that the technique was emerging faster and faster. In truth, the Godly Eye Technique was indeed emerging at a gradually faster pace with each volume. Luo Feng's face went pale under that horrifying mental shock. His body trembled, yet he was still staring at the ice mountain in the distance. He continued memorizing the material of the 6th volume. Luo Feng couldn't help falling to the ground. No. No, said Luo Feng. He knew he had reached his limit. He was not in the space of inheritance to sharpen his willpower. If the willpower shock got stronger, he would pass out. No. Luo Feng desperately desired to read more about the Godly Eye Technique. I can't fall down. At least 6 volumes. I must finish 6 volumes. Luo Feng was roaring inside. Each second felt like an era, which made it feel as if the characters were emerging too slowly. I must finish it. I must do it. It was Luo Feng's only thought, to finish the first 6 volumes. He had to finish them. He had to. Luo Feng could sense that his willpower was crumbling, but he was still pulling through. He stared into the distance and wondered why the characters were emerging so slowly. Why didn't they appear all at once? Finally, all the characters of the 6th volume of the Godly Eye Technique appeared on the ice mountain. At the same time, the 7th volume started to emerge on the mountainside of another ice mountain. However, Luo Feng couldn't hold on any longer after enduring the 6th volume. He blacked out without reading the 7th volume. A pillar of light appeared and covered Luo Feng, who was unconscious. Finally, he left the 7th floor. All 4 leaders went quiet. They were staring at the screen, collectively holding their breath. At a crucial moment, the characters emerged faster and faster. There wasn't any time gap between volumes, and the longer Luo Feng could persevere, the more material he could read. He could tell that it was difficult for law masters to improve when they reached the limit, which was why the Godly Eye Technique emerged faster and faster. The 5th volume is done. The 6th volume was also finished. Soldier Milky Way fell. Luo Feng disappeared from the screen. The 4 leaders felt relieved. 6th volume. Unfortunately, he fell before the 7th volume was finished. However, it's all blurred, so we can't see anything. It's not surprising that he couldn't finish the 7th volume. After all, His Majesty the Godly King only gave us the first 6 volumes. Milky Way is only a law master, yet he was able to complete the first 6 volumes. He's more impressive than us. The 4 leaders were chatting with each other. There was nothing on the screen. Let's take it back, said the towering leader. Okay, said the Black Mist leader. The screen disappeared from the palace. After all, even the 4 leaders couldn't see anything on the 8th and 9th floor, which was why they had no idea what hazards waited on the 8th floor, or what kind of secret His Majesty the Godly King had left behind on the 9th floor. Wait. Yes, we can only wait. If that soldier Milky Way can get the inheritance successfully, the sealing task will disappear automatically. There was only one task for law masters, and if someone succeeded, the task would disappear and wouldn't show up again. Can this soldier succeed? The Black Mist leader was worried. One soldier made it to the 8th floor, but he failed in the end. We asked him about the 8th floor when he exited, but he couldn't remember anything about it. There's got to be a huge secret on the 8th floor, said the silver-armored female leader. Otherwise, His Majesty the Godly King wouldn't have erased his memories. Just wait and see. The leaders were indeed curious. They had been born in the world of Jinn, so they were absolutely loyal to His Majesty the Godly King. With one order, they would die for the Godly King without hesitation. However, they were also curious. They had been in Godly King Valley for a long time, and their job was to find the peerless talent sought by their Godly King. His Majesty the Godly King eagerly sought this talented individual. What was there on the 8th and 9th floors of Wu Chi Tower? Luo Feng saw that the time and space around him were twisted, and he was transported to the 8th floor. Even after Luo Feng appeared on the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower, he was still mesmerized by the scenes on the 7th floor. It's indeed difficult to make a breakthrough in willpower. On the 7th floor, my willpower is strengthened, and I should reach the level of a top-tier true god of void space. It's close to the limit of true gods of void space. 6 volumes. I got 6 volumes of the Godly Eye Technique. Only the first 3 volumes of Duan Mier are suitable for true gods to practice, and these 6 volumes of Godly Eye Technique will take me a long time to finish. Luo Feng was quite content. Even Duan Dong River didn't have Godly Eye Technique, which meant it was a powerful technique owned exclusively by Jinn. I'm on the 8th floor now, which is the last challenge on Wu Chi Tower, my last step to the top. Luo Feng looked around. There was a space around him, and there was a small landform floating in the vast space in the distance. It was so small that it might take Luo Feng 100 steps to finish walking from one end to the other. There was only one landform in the endless space. Luo Feng flew toward it like a streak of light. It appeared to be close, but it took him a long time to reach it. Time and space seemed to be suppressed, so he couldn't teleport. There's a huge secret hidden in Wuqi Tower. That sealed being is extraordinary. Nobody has succeeded in the endless time. What will stand in my way to discovering the huge secret? Luo Feng was curious and worried at the same time. The final challenge was all that stood between him and the huge secret, so it surely wouldn't be simple. The 8th level. It would be the final task. And it awaited him on that small island. He flew for a long time before landing on the island. It looked arid and desolate. However, on the ground were many ancient characters. Huh? Luo Feng took a look. The characters were simple. The 8th level is the final step to the top. Observe the space around you and get one technique. If you can succeed, you'll reach the 9th level of Wuqi Tower. If you fail, your memories will be erased, and you'll leave Wuqi Tower. After Luo Feng finished reading the instructions, the ancient characters disappeared. He raised up his head and looked around at the space. Huge characters showed up in the space around him. Each one looked like a star, connecting with each other to form a picture. There wasn't a single comma between the characters. They were all connected. He couldn't tell where the start was or where the end was. Luo Feng stood on the suspended miniature continent and surveyed his surroundings. Looking around the void space, I can obtain one secret technique. And upon mastering it, I can enter the 9th level. If I fail, all my memories will be erased, and I will have to leave Wuqi Tower. Luo Feng frowned. The temptation to enter the 9th level, especially when he was so close to achieving it, was extremely great. But the countless characters suspended in the void space around him left him in a daze thanks to their overwhelming numbers. He didn't know where to start. At first glance, they were like a sky filled with stars. Every character was one star, and they were all connected to one another. But because all of them were gathered together, it was impossible to identify where the starting point of this secret technique was or where its end would be. He did not even know where there could be pauses. To cultivate this secret technique, I must first organize all its contents. Luo Feng looked at the countless characters suspended all over the surrounding void space. But I know nothing about any of it. How am I going to divide them up into phases? If I cannot divide them into phases, how am I going to start the cultivation? Luo Feng was frustrated. Time passed. In a blink of the eye, 9 days had gone by. How do I cultivate? Luo Feng wondered aloud. He looked at the numerous characters. Each was emitting light rays that were at times strong and at other times weak. It was like a gigantic scroll whose start and end were connected. It was presented right before Luo Feng, but he could not understand anything about it. The rays of light from the characters were nothing new to him, but he still could not make enough sense of them to be able to comprehend their meaning. Does this mean I have to stop at the 8th level? Luo Feng was very reluctant. But the countless characters on the gigantic scroll seemed so profound, like characters in a holy writ, that he simply could not fathom. All of a sudden, Luo Feng, who had been studying the characters, suddenly witnessed all the characters on the gigantic scroll suspended in void space lighting up. Instantly, his consciousness was pulled within the scroll. It was as if he was using a virtual universe sensor, so that his consciousness could enter the virtual universe. At that moment, his consciousness entered the scroll. Luo Feng stood on that suspended continent, unmoving. Far away in the surrounding void space, on the circular scroll with countless characters that resembled stars, there was an upsurge of light rays that were flashing and shining intermittently. At that moment, it was as though they were following a unique rhythm. A blurred figure condensed and appeared within the void space. He was garbed in a luxurious robe that had faint black rays encircling it. As a blurry shadow, he stood amid the void space, as though he was the core of the entire world on the 8th level. Exuding an aura of absolute elegance, he looked far into the distance at Luo Feng, who stood rooted to his spot on the miniature continent he was on. This is the second one, the black figure gently whispered. The previous one whose consciousness managed to enter the world of scrolls was quick to fail. Let's see if this one can succeed or not. Perhaps I have been asking for too much. My world of Jin might be vast and mighty, but to give rise to an extraordinary figure who could cultivate this secret technique, maybe it was just too unrealistic. But other than this, what else can I do? What else can I do? My original body has been annihilated. I have no other choice, no other choice. The Black Ray figure quietly lamented. Among countless lives, there a miracle is bound to be born. The Black Ray-like figure looked at Luo Feng from afar with a look of earnest longing on his face. Luo Feng stood rooted to his spot in a dazed manner. His consciousness had already entered the world of scrolls. The world of scrolls. Luo Feng could only feel his consciousness being attracted into the world. It was a feeling similar to entering a virtual world. Everything before him changed, and he arrived before a towering palace that was radiating a faint purple light. This palace was constructed on the peak of sprawling, high mountains. At first glance, the towering palace seemed to be enveloped by the clouds. Therefore, everything around it seemed to be blurred. Just one glance, Luo Feng could already feel the powerful suppression. He turned to look back into the distance. He could see no end to the vast mountain range. What place is this? I was just looking at those characters in the void space a while ago, and my consciousness was forcibly pulled into this place. This place seemed all the more mysterious to Luo Feng. How powerful was his willpower? And yet those characters within the void space that composed the circular scroll had been able to pull his consciousness here by force. Come in. Come in. Come in. From within the doors of the towering palace that was radiating faint purple light, sounds of beckoning could be heard, causing Luo Feng to fall into a daze right away. Moving as though his will was not his own, he walked toward the palace doors right away, and entered the depths of the great hall. Luo Feng was abruptly awakened. Immediately, he looked around the place. I am already within the hall. Unknowingly and without any trace of vigilance, I was pulled under control. This difference in power is much too great. This was an extremely beautiful hall. To the sides, there were numerous exquisite pillars, and on every pillar were carvings of various pictures. A distance away, some decorations were found on the walls. All of these exuded a powerful oppressive force. Luo Feng wanted to take a closer look, but no matter how he tried, he could not see anything clearly, even the ground beneath his feet was unclear. It was as though he looked at everything through a thick mist. The entire hall suddenly trembled. Luo Feng immediately turned around, and within the same hall he was in, a beast appeared. It was covered entirely with black scales, and its body resembled the form of a lion. On its forehead was a curved purple horn, and both its eyes were filled with purple light. It could be seen walking about the palace hall, and its presence caused the entire hall to tremble. You are, Luo Feng looked at the beast. I am the secret technique itself, the purple horned beast replied proudly. Luo Feng was taken aback. The secret technique itself? Why, even weapons can have spirits. Why can't this secret technique have a spirit too? The purple horned beast snorted. Luo Feng was dumbfounded. Then he went wild with ecstasy. Oh God! The spirit of a secret technique. If it had been a warrior from the world of Jin, then he might not have understood what was meant by a spirit of a secret technique. But Luo Feng, who had received the inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River, possessed knowledge of the ancient civilization. Naturally, he would understand. Within the ancient civilization, only a few formidable super-existences, who stood at the apex of the entire ancient civilization, would go to such lengths, and spend such a great deal of effort to refine and produce a piece of a treasure of a secret technique for the sake of choosing a suitable heir to inherit the sets of knowledge they took great pride in. To enable a secret technique to contain a spirit was a very stringent process that involved combining a secret technique and a spirit. From the pulse of Duandong River, only the 3 generations of ancestors could have achieved that. No heir from the other generations had been successful. When a secret technique had a spirit, it would be able to choose a master that truly suited it. If other great beings vainly attempted to rely on their strong powers to forcibly seize this secret technique, they were bound for failure. And if the secret technique was unable to recognize a master, any attempt to kill its spirit would be impossible to achieve. After all, only a master could easily eradicate the spirit of a treasure. In other words, a particular super great being would naturally be able to destroy the spirit of a treasure when he destroyed that treasure. However, out of all those who could refine treasures of secret techniques, were there any who were not super existences from the ancient civilization? Even for the 3 generations of ancestors, who could come up with the spirit of a secret technique, even when it came to the ancestors themselves, if the spirit of a treasure they created did not recognize them as masters, there was no way they could destroy the treasures, even if they were the creators of these treasures. So, destroying such a spirit of a secret technique was difficult, but to meet the requirements and acquire the set of knowledge that these peak existences was so proud of was even more difficult. Exactly what sort of secret technique would specially require a spirit of a secret technique? Could this be something that His Majesty the Godly King created? Luo Feng mumbled to himself. Even from the pulse of Duandong River, only the 3 generations of ancestors could achieve this. Facing this purple-horned beast, Luo Feng obediently sat beside it and listened. After all, even the 3 generations of ancestors could not use force against it, so everything had to be done according to the rules determined by the creator of this spirit of a secret technique. For you to be able to enter the world of scrolls, you must have a solid foundation, the purple-horned beast said. However, whether or not you can obtain this secret technique depends on your skills. Look carefully. The purple-horned beast's sharp horn suddenly shot out 4 beams of light rays. 4 rays of light bombarded in 4 different directions within the hall, and all of a sudden, 4 huge rolls of scrolls appeared on each of the 4 walls within the hall simultaneously. As the scrolls unrolled during descent, countless characters could be seen on the scrolls. However, 3 out of the 4 scrolls contained characters that were blurred. Only one of these scrolls was different. And that was the one suspended in mid-air before the palace doors. Every character on that scroll was crystal clear. Luo Feng could finish reading it without trouble. These 4 scrolls, the purple-horned beast said. Before your eyes is the only one you can see clearly. This is the acceptance guide of the secret technique. Acceptance guide of the secret technique. Luo Feng nodded. Acceptance guide of secret technique. For the existences of the ancient civilization, who stood at the peak, it was never easy to find an heir. Getting killed during the maturing process was not a big deal. But after a warrior was killed and one's memory was being searched, if the super secret technique it took such great pride were to be leaked out into the open, there would be big trouble. This was why they would usually deploy many means of precautionary measures. The inheritance imprints of the pulse of Duandong River were one such example. Under the restraint of the inheritance imprints, Luo Feng was unable to leak out anything about it. Even if he had been killed and his memory had been searched, the inheritance imprints would break up and destroy everything, so it was impossible for the enemy to find anything. Of course, there were many groups of powers, like His Majesty the Godly King of Jin, who, when handing over to someone under his command, would also follow the progress of his subordinate. If his subordinate's abilities grew stronger, then gradually, he would impart more profound knowledge. This was because the more powerful his subordinate was, the more difficult it would be to search his memory. If it was not truly an inheritance of a pulse, and he was not imparting it to a subordinate, then he would use methods like the spirit of a secret technique, to cast the net and search for an heir. Usually, an acceptance guide of a secret technique would be used, and once this acceptance guide of secret technique was mastered, the truly powerful secret technique would be accepted and guided into become internalized. By then, even if one's memories were searched, under the influence of the acceptance guide, there would be no way the true secret technique could be found. The acceptance guide of a secret technique not only had the function of protecting the secret technique, it also had the ability to choose an appropriate heir. This secret technique would be fraught with difficulties, and only those who managed to fulfill the various requirements would be able to master this technique. Mastering the acceptance guide of a secret technique would naturally mean that one could master this secret technique. Therefore, he would be accepted and guided into it. Everything would be completed. The more powerful a secret technique is, thought Luo Feng, even for a true god of void space, an eternal true god, or someone higher up in rank, all of them would still have to go through cultivation. I am merely a law master, so I will certainly not be able to master the entire secret technique now. If I were able to master it all, then it would mean this secret technique carried no value at all. So, the significance of the 8th level of Wu Qi Tower, regretfully, is to master the acceptance guide of a secret technique, and thereafter, to completely internalize this powerful secret technique within one's own soul. Upon memorizing it, one would be considered to have succeeded. If the acceptance guide of a secret technique is never fully mastered, then the result will be failure. Luo Feng was quick to pick up on understanding the true significance of the 8th level of Wu Qi Tower. Upon mastering the acceptance guide of the secret technique, he would be able to obtain the entire secret technique. After that, he would be able to enter the 9th level of Wu Qi Tower. This would be the final barrier to overcome. This acceptance guide of secret technique must be very difficult. Otherwise, there would not be so many obstacles still to face ahead. And since long ago, there has been no one who has succeeded within the world of Jin. Luo Feng started to look very carefully at that scroll suspended before the palace doors. At his side, the purple horned beast was still speaking. This acceptance guide of a secret technique is very stringent, it said. The cultivators should ideally be law masters, and as for the highest level, one could, at most, be a true god. Any higher than that, and it would be impossible to achieve success in cultivation. Luo Feng concentrated all his attention, reading the picture of Na Yin technique. There were countless characters on the picture, but fortunately, Luo Feng had an incredible memory, so he was able to memorize all the characters instantly with only one look. Na Yin. Luo Feng pondered the material of that technique in silence. He wanted to get a deeper understanding of it, and he needed to train on the basis of the material later. There was a saying that sharpening one's axe wouldn't delay the cutting of firewood. This was definitely a crucial moment for Luo Feng, so he needed to be patient. He couldn't rush it. This Na Yin technique is very demanding, the purple-horned strange beast said. Since the time when I was created by my master, countless peerless talents have tried to get it, but nobody has ever succeeded. Luo Feng glanced at the purple-horned strange beast and was shocked. Countless peerless talents. He didn't think countless peerless talents had made their way to the 8th floor. As for you, you might fail. The purple-horned strange beast took a look at Luo Feng. Luo Feng concentrated all his attention on the picture, and kept analyzing and pondering it. He soon knew the detailed steps for practice, and as soon as he understood all the procedures, he immediately started to practice. The purple-horned strange beast was a bit surprised. He started just like that, without any signs. But I bet he might fail in the end. The beast bent its hoofs and lay in the palace. It had its head lowered, and it was waiting beside Luo Feng, waiting for him to fail so he could send him out. Once Luo Feng started the training, his entire body and all of the bodies he had couldn't help being immersed in the techniques he read before. The Earthling original body, Golden Horned Beast body, Mosha body, and Remote Ocean body all started to practice. In the primal universe, in the primal secret region of the human territory, the enormous remote ocean suddenly became tranquil, and there was a trace of white light glinting across the entire ocean. They were fires, each emitting white light indiscriminately. At the same time, the white light gave off mental shocks that were being enhanced gradually, waves of which permeated remote ocean. Some of the undying fighters and sector lords in spaceships flying above remote ocean felt a horrendous willpower shock sweeping through them. They all passed out instantly. Remote ocean was vast, and it was the most important place in the primal secret region. Many universe masters from the Hong Alliance gathered here, and with the willpower shock permeating from the tumbling, endless remote ocean, many sector lords, undying fighters, and even universe knights passed out. This shocked many great beings in the primal secret region. What happened to the remote ocean body of Milky Way Horde leader? Why is there white light everywhere? The willpower shock is terrific. Even universe knights couldn't withstand it. Such a strong willpower shock. Even I feel pressured. Universe masters from the Hong Alliance stood on the edge of remote ocean, staring across the vast waters. Some human universe masters also appeared. Where does that willpower shock come from? Ice Mountain Master asked with a frown. I don't know. It just now happened, said a universe master of another race who was clearly inferior. Ice Mountain Master had obtained some guidance of the ancient civilization from Luo Feng, so he had reached level 5 quickly. With the first level of godly power burning technique, his power was greatly improved. There was shining white light everywhere in remote ocean, and the willpower shock pervaded. Even universe knights can't resist it. Everyone was astounded, but nobody was sure what had happened. They could only speculate. Many universe masters from the Hong Alliance transmitted their voices. Milky Way Horde leader is in the world of Jin. Did he get some powerful technique there? So he's practicing it at the moment. A being showed up, giving out endless power. It was Primal Chaos City leader. He was a universe supreme master, so everyone showed him great respect. Relay my orders. Primal Chaos City leader yelled. Take away all those who are unconscious, and stop any great being from entering remote ocean. Yes. Yes. 8 universe masters answered the order from Primal Chaos City leader, and they immediately went to make arrangements. Primal Chaos City leader was gazing at endless remote ocean. He looked worried, but he immediately hid it. What happened to you, Luo Feng? I tried to transmit my voice to you, but you didn't reply at all. Where does that willpower shock come from? Primal Chaos City leader was concerned. The Primal Secret region wasn't the only place affected. Milky Way Holy Land was also trapped in waves of indiscriminate mind shocks. On the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower in the world of Jin, Luo Feng stood still on that floating island without moving a single muscle. His body was bathed in white light. Waves of mind shocks emanated from his body, and each trace of godly power in his body was covered by a white engraving picture. The pictures penetrated the life imprint on each slice of godly power. It was the ultimate test for souls, yet also the most fundamental. During the test, Luo Feng's mind naturally merged with his godly body. Normally, a great being's willpower was attached to nothing. Once the great being died, his godly body wouldn't produce any willpower shock. However, Luo Feng's willpower was gradually being combined with each trace of his godly body. His willpower had a foundation now, and only after that could he perform the willpower technique, as it was the prerequisite for all willpower techniques, such as godly eye technique. After that, even if a great being died, a drop of blood, a hair, a tooth, each part of his body would contain incredible willpower. It took a long time. After more than 900 years, the white light shining on Luo Feng's body turned blue. The willpower shock in remote ocean surged. Some of the universe masters waiting in the distance were irritated. Only those with strong willpower could withstand it easily, yet the mediocre ones had a hard time bearing it. What happened? Why does the willpower shock grow stronger? In the space on the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower, the being surrounded by black light, and clothed in a luxurious royal cape looked at Luo Feng standing in the distance. He's already entered phase 2. The being in black light shook his body. His eyes glinted with excitement. A talent was born in the world of Jin. Even I didn't expect this. That picture was widely spread. Many peerless talents entered the picture, yet few of could make it to phase 2. Can he succeed? He must. He must. The being in black looked anxious and worried. Inside the picture world, the purple-horned strange beast had its head lowered originally, but it now looked at Luo Feng, who was practicing, in awe. He's entered the second phase, it said. There are 3 phases in Na Yin technique, and he's entered phase 2. Since I was born, many talents from all powers came in before. Some had invaluable inheritances, and some received incredible training from birth. However, the number of those who could make it through phase 1 to phase 2 was less than 50. Who is this kid? Where does he come from? Is he a supreme talent cultivated by Jin's godly king? Days went by. Luo Feng had no idea what he had caused. Pain. Torture. Agony. Those words described how Luo Feng felt. He knew that Na Yin technique had 3 phases after he started training. The first phase was easy for him, but after he started the second phase, each inch of his life imprint started to go through the worst torture in the world. It was like a needle piercing each inch of his life imprint, or it was like being dropped into the middle of a wildfire. It was just as painful as the time Star Tower had recognized him as its master. Fortunately, Luo Feng was much stronger than he had been when Star Tower recognized him as its master, so he could bear the pain on his life imprint. Even though he was able to bear the pain, his life imprint itself might not be able to bear it, as that was a totally different scenario. Luo Feng could easily bear the pain on his life imprint. However, if the life imprint itself couldn't bear the pain, and it broke, Luo Feng would die. Is it dangerous to practice Na Yin technique? Regardless, he was already practicing, so there was no turning back. It's phase 2 already. The purple-horned strange beast was watching. If only he can enter phase 3. Since it was seized by Jin Godly King, nobody under him is able to enter phase 2. You brat. Just try to enter phase 3. If you can. Well, you'll die if you fail at that stage. However, if you succeed, you'll be second only to the Godly King in the world of Jin. The purple-horned strange beast was looking forward to it. Its destiny was to find the suitable inheritor. Once the inheritor was found, the spirit of technique would disappear. However, it didn't care about what happened after the phase. From birth, its sole purpose had been to find the inheritor. The being in the black light stared at Luo Feng in the space on the 8th floor. Enter phase 3. Enter phase 3. Only about 10 peerless talents have ever entered phase 3 from all the powers combined. Only 3 of them survived, while all the others died. The first and second phases were safe. However, when someone entered phase 3, they would either succeed or die. Of course, there were many ways to survive in the ancient civilization. Even though all the peerless talents failed at phase 3, 3 had managed to save their lives. However, my original body is already dead, so I can do nothing to save your life. If you can survive phase 3, be grateful for me. If you can't, the black light being just shook his head. 300 years after the blue light appeared in the primal secret region of the human territory. The blue light became purple, and the purple light connected to form a giant, mysterious ancient engraving picture. The shock of willpower from remote ocean surged. Most of the universe masters in the Hong Alliance fainted and fell down. Only 2 universe masters remained conscious. This video will end here.